So this is the first episode of many, many more to come. My name's Bridge, and I'd like to share my experience with you today in terms of my personal encounter with a narcissist. Unfortunately, the narcissist I encountered is now my ex-husband. We've been separated for close to 2 months now. And since then, I've learned so much about this narcissistic personality disorder. I've absorbed an incredible amount of learnings within this short period of time. And I've almost become obsessed with learning more about narcissistic people and also hearing about other people's encounters with this personality disorder. After doing my research and talking to others about their encounters and their experiences, I decided that I, needed to figure out a way to spread awareness and share my story. And I honestly hope that my story might inspire others who might be going through the same thing. So glad you're with us today, and put in some comments. I'm really interested in hearing from you. Just recording thoughts and recollections I have about a recent narcissistic relationship that I was in. So I know many of you already know what narcissism is about in terms of gaslighting and the lack of empathy that these people have. But what we need to do is promote and explore narcissism and let people know that these people actually exist. What we need to do is create greater awareness so people can kind of gauge the red flags when they do meet a narcissist and run for the hills. So today's episode is basically Bridget's story. I've been with my narcissistic partner for about, 12 years, married for 9. This coming January would have been our 10th anniversary. And throughout the years, I've had this happy on and off feeling where some days were good, some days were bad. And I'm sure marriages are like that. I mean, I've always heard that once you pass that 7-year mark, you're smooth sailing, apparently. Unfortunately, we didn't make it. In May of this year, we officially separated. We got into a huge argument about something that was pretty minuscule in my opinion. I had planned a brunch with my girlfriends, and I wanted to take my kids to an amusement park in the afternoon. And my husband came upstairs, asked me what my plan was for the day, and I told him, and he immediately started to argue with me about me not communicating. And I found it very funny because he had been so distant from the family for years, kind of doing his own thing or calling me during the day, not really trying to connect with me as a husband. So I questioned it. And mind you, I was showering at the time. He actually kind of ambushed me while I was in the shower. And we got into a huge argument. Usually when we argue, I have my dad living with us, but my dad ended up taking the kids to McDonald's just so they could not hear the argument. And it escalated to the point where he started punching walls. He grabbed my phone, broke my phone. When somebody shakes you, they grab your shoulders and try to shake the shit out of you. Well, he did that. After that, he left the house. I think he went to work. He didn't come home until 4 a.m. When I looked at the camera, it looked like he had been drinking because he stumbled up onto the porch. I think about 2 or 3 days later, he said that he saw a lawyer. He wanted to have a separation. Ever since then, he's been adamant about splitting properties and evicting my mom from a rental home that we own. And he even sent me a list about having the iron and 6 towels, which I thought was pretty ghetto, but whatever. So we're basically battling with the lawyers back and forth at this point. And we're also kind of battling for parenting time, which I find so funny because he was always distant from the family. His line of work keeps him out of the house for very long hours, or at least we were under the impression that it did. He would leave in the morning and come home at like 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, sometimes even 1:30 or 2:30 in the morning, depending on what day it was. And now he's pushing for equal custody in the sense that the kids are going to be spending the most amount of time with both parents. And I'm just thinking, like, how are you supposed to be doing this when you never used to come home on time, or you never really engaged with us? And it just seems kind of fake. We're at a point right now where we're hoping to get through mediation, but he seems to be a little bit shisty at this point. So I've been doing a lot of research on narcissism. I think over the course of maybe the last 5 years or so, at least ever since his father passed away, I've noticed a change. When his dad died, I think he probably felt like he needed more life, or, I got to hurry up and live life. But he didn't feel like he needed to live it with us. So he became rude. He always had these sarcastic comments anytime I had something to say. He would often yell or scream for no reason. So yelling was a topic of discussion for us all the time. He'd often say that that's just him, that's his personality, and that I was trying to change him. But the funny thing is when I met him, he wasn't like that. He was quiet, he was polite, he was calm. I think over the years, once he got comfortable with me, his demeanor and attitude started to change. I started to feel like his mom, picking up after him when he started to live with me at the time. He would buy a new shirt and he would take the tag off and leave it on the counter for me to pick up. Like, dude, just throw it in the garbage, bud. And even when we had our first son, like he took 2 weeks off of work and then he went back to work. And I don't have any brothers or sisters, so the idea of child rearing was a bit scary for me. He has 9 siblings, 10 with him included. So he's used to being around a lot of kids. I just found that maybe 3 years into the relationship, things started to change. And maybe he didn't want to be a father. I don't know. But he wasn't really a part of the family per se. He always seemed distant. I remember a time where my son would say, "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad." And the kid would have to literally call him like 3 or 4 times in order for him to reply. I thought that was mind-boggling. So that piece I couldn't get. I think I just kind of got numb to it. But over the years, I just noticed a change in him. And then I started to notice a change in myself. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term gray rocking. It's basically when you start to numb down or become boring for the narcissist to no longer want you. And I found myself gray rocking and not even knowing it. I just noticed that his demeanor, his tone, his attitude towards me started to go downhill. And for some reason, I became quiet. I used to pick my topics because I didn't want us to talk about something and it blow up into an argument. In terms of intimacy, I don't know what happened. I didn't even want to have sex with him after a while. I think my sex drive died with him maybe the 4th year into our marriage. I'll tell you a funny story. We met in 2009 when he first came to the country. We dated for a bit on and off. He seemed like a player at the time, so we kind of split up at that point. And then he resurfaced after I had gone through a recent breakup with a common law partner that I had. Complete trauma bonding. I think he had a girlfriend at the time and he was breaking up with her and I was trauma bonding with him because I had been going through this on and off relationship with my common law partner. And we dated for a bit. Then he had this weird encounter. He used to live with his sister in an apartment. And he had this weird encounter with his sister's boyfriend. I think that spooked him and he decided to move out from his sisters because of the toxic environment that they had. The sister's boyfriend was a drug dealer. He had been kind of helping her take care of her kids at night, bringing guys into the house at all times of the night. But one night, he tells me that the door knocked and the cops were at the door. And when the cops opened the door, or when he opened the door, he had the chain lock on, so the cops couldn't get in right away. They were looking for her boyfriend. So apparently, the boyfriend had tied a few sheets together and he whispered, "Hey, hurry up and come over here and lower me down." So they lived on the 16th floor and he had knotted some sheets together in order for my ex-husband to lower him down to the 15th floor balcony. So my ex-husband closes the door, tells the police he's going to put on some clothes or whatnot, and lowers him down to the 15th floor balcony. I don't even know how my ex-husband ended up getting rid of the cops at that point. I think he opened up the door, showed them that the guy wasn't there, and then they left. But I think that spooked him that night, and I remember him being all quiet, and he says to me, "Listen, I need to get out of this place. We build a life together or I'm going to rent an apartment downtown." And sure enough, I was smitten at the time. He was a good looking guy. He had great work ethics. The sex was great at the time. So I was like, yeah, come and live with me. I mean, I don't have any siblings. I'm just living with my dad at this point. So he moved in with us. He moved in and within probably about less than a year or so, our eldest son came along and we decided to get married. I remember him proposing to me while I was pregnant. I was shocked. I think when he proposed to me in the house. So nothing fancy. He didn't take me out to a restaurant or whatever like most guys would do. I was walking into the living room and he got down on his knees and showed me the ring. So when I saw the ring, I was shocked. I actually ran out of the room. I was so shocked. I said yes. But I also said to him, hey, don't propose to me because I'm having your kid. Like, make sure that you're getting married to me for me and not because you feel like you're trapped. So he said, no, blah, blah, blah. I want to get married to you. I said, okay, fine. I didn't really know much about weddings at the time. Like, I didn't even know that you could have an engagement party where people would actually buy you gifts. For our wedding, nobody gave us anything. We basically had our wedding. I don't even think he had a bachelor party. His friend at the time didn't throw one for him. Aside from that, the wedding was pretty small and quiet. And 6 months, or let's say we got married in January, maybe about 6-7 months after we got married, he called the cops on me. Why, you might ask? To this day, I really don't even know. So stay tuned to the next episode so you can find out all about the cop calling incident. Should be a good one.